Welcome back. We are here. It is your favorite podcast, Pilot Pass. My name is Matthew Pizana. I am co-host of this wonderful podcast that you're listening to right now. And alongside me is my favorite, most of the time, co-host.
Scoot over. Scoot. God, yes. Okay. Hi, I'm co-host Del Pullen. Next here to Matt.
Don't call me Chuck Norris Pullen.
Move over. Thank you. That's right. Chuck Norris Pullen, as they call me.
Today, we are talking about Walker, the new show on the CW, starring Jared Padalecki as the classic Walker Texas Ranger character.
CW.
It is going to be magical, our conversation today.
That's one way to put it. Okay, before we go too far on the new Walker, let's at least give people a little bit of rundown of what the old show was. Walker Texas Ranger was an American action crime television series created by some pretty interesting people. Leslie Grief, who did, let's see, I'm definitely Wikipedia, so people at home don't think I'm not, but he did the Hatfield and McCoy's show, which was actually pretty good. I enjoy Funny Money and Gene Simmons' Family Jewels. And it was created also with Paul Haggis, who this guy actually did do some good stuff. He was
he wrote Crash.
He wrote Flags of Our Father, Casino Royale, Quantum Solace. He did the television series Due South. So he's definitely got some credentials behind him as well. Now the show focused on Chuck Norris walking around every episode whipping ass because he was a Vietnam vet who had to whip ass and he knew martial arts. And so the show was basically an excuse for him to run around whipping ass. It was inspired by the film Lone Wolf McQuade,
classic.
Which I believe starred Chuck Norris as a guy who walked around whipping ass. I will say that I do remember my mother loving this show. He is a Texas Ranger. They kind of mythologize what Texas Rangers can do.
Yes.
They are certainly not, they do not do what Chuck Norris does in this show. But I remember my mother watching this show like crazy. A lot of ladies did. I think they enjoyed seeing Chuck Norris whipping ass. But I will say that when it came out, it was enjoyable. It was enjoyed. I've seen a couple of episodes myself. It wasn't really my thing. I'd like to give you the critical reception in October of 1993 by Ken Tucker of Entertainment Weekly. This is the year it came out.
Yes.
He gave the series a C+. I'm going to read this verbatim because I love it. Average Joe Keenan was thoroughly roasted the series, particularly over-targeting a wider audience than suited for its late-night time slot. He called the show so corny and predictable, it appears to be in slow motion even when it's not. With plot lines that were old when George Burns was young, music that appears to be a lethal fusion of the Batman and Manic scores, acting that makes William Shatner seem like Marlon Brando, and dialogue that could stop the Dukes of Hazzard dead in its tracks. Walker Texas Ranger is a throwback to an earlier, more innocent time when programmers assumed that everyone watching TV was dumb. I'm not sure they're even using a DP on the show, and that's a director of photography. It seems they just mounted a camera on a tripod and tell Chorton to start kicking people's faces for a solid hour, which he seems more than willing to do.
Definitely.
Believably is not the show's strong point. The writers on the series need to get out more. They can start by walking down any street in Los Angeles. Even though most episodes of the series are completely unwatchable, many have at least one admirable feature. They're scripted so that Norris doesn't speak very much.
The most important part about the original Walker Texas Ranger is
it's Chuck Norris.
It was filmed in Dallas. That was
right,
Dallas's claim to fame. Have you been? Were you ever on Walker Texas Ranger?
No, I was not. Although one of my absolute favorite bands of all time, Baboon, was, and it's a episode where they go into trees. This is one of the episodes I watched, waiting for them. They went to trees, and Baboon is what's kind of known as cacophonous rock. They are just pure madness. They sometimes play trombones. The drummer plays with a horse hood, a horse mask over his head. Sometimes he's backwards. The players, Mike, the guitars, I mean, they're just insanity. It's just the caterwauling, and they're absolutely one of my favorite bands to watch, and I love their albums so much. And I love them so much. And they were on there for just a second, and they showed some baboon merch, which wasn't even invented yet. Walker Texas Ranger Productions had merch made for the band that they then gave to them that they sold at shows, from my understanding. So that was one of the reasons I ever watched it. But no, I was not in the audience for that show because they were recording and I couldn't get up to Dallas that night. But it did take place, yes, mainly in Dallas, the surrounding areas, and a little bit in Fort Worth.
So already I have a problem with the new ones because they moved it down to Austin. There's all the new ones in Austin. And that's a bummer because Dallas only has very, very few amount of shows. Walker, Texas Ranger, the Good Guys. Yeah. And,
Dallas.
Dallas, yes. But that was more like Irving. That was more like Plano. That wasn't really Dallas.
Yeah.
The South Fork Ranch is like in Plano.
RoboCop,
So, and RoboCop. Heck yeah. So the new Walker Texas Ranger, it's just called Walker.
Well, the reason they did that also was the main star is from Austin originally and was going to attend UT, moved to pursued acting, and then came back. He was in Supernatural, which is one of the reasons the CW decided to pick up the show because Supernatural was such a big thing for them.
He, by the way, was fantastic in that show. Him and Jen's Ackles.
I've never seen an episode. I guess we'll have to do one on that.
It's an event. It's a fun little show. It's more of a USA show. I always felt like than anything else. Like it was, they had the same kind of energy.
I love USA.
So that's really cool. Jared also has a brewery in Austin that I've been to before, which is wonderful. So I have nothing but great things to say about him. He seems like an awesome dude. They have great charities that they do in Austin. However, he chose to do the show.
Yes.
That's going to be a mark against you.
Yeah, all right, let's start
give the
as
people
I've mentioned before
of this.
I don't know if you can see this, but the green screen kind of makes it go out. So here's page 1 of my notes. And here's page 2 of my notes, and I'm going to scan these and put them up on the blog. I guess you can't see them; they go in and out here on the green screen. But I've noticed, like I said, that when I dislike a show, I tend to take more notes. And when I like a show, I tend to take very few notes because I'm paying attention.
This was our first show of the year that's called Pilot. They didn't think
that's true. So this automatically disqualifies it from the category of best episode of the year with a pilot not named Pilot.
Exactly.
So it automatically just took itself out of the running for that. You fools. But I don't know kind of where to begin. So the show starts with some security lights going off. A fire starts at a I was going to say a horse brothel. But
I've already forgot this. You're telling me this, and I know I've watched it, but I've already forgotten.
It's a barn. But what do you got? A stable, a horse brothel. I'm using that from now on. But a stable catches on fire, and it looks like either one of the horses. And here's the thing: is I watched the whole episode 2 hours ago. I couldn't tell you the freaking plot of this. I even reread on Wikipedia, and I went, "That is not what I watched." So either the horse escapes or he dies. I don't know or care.
Here, I'm gonna shrink it down real quick and real easy. Wife died, Jared sad.
Yes. Okay. That's daughter angry.
Daughter angry.
So I would like to
new partner opposite of him.
Yes. Also in a tough decision relationship where she should choose her job or this new relationship. And I would like to point out, I don't care if she chooses him or the job.
Was filled with so many tropes that
there were so much old. I did not. I'm going to start to go down the list. You stop me as I go down the list because I literally filled up 2 full notebooks line by line. So they're entirely full. And I'm going to scan these people. But as we go down, you stop me when you find something interesting about it. Fire breaks out at ranch. Lady Texas Ranger, Mickey Ramirez is played by Lindsay Morgan. Slow, boring dialogue. Has troublemaker daughter. Previously, Walker wife was murdered. Abandoned daughter Stella to go undercover for 11 months.
Now let's talk about
him a dick.
Well, that's true. Let's talk about the wife real quick. That's going to be one of my positives to the show.
And that's his real life wife.
Yes. So she can, come in whenever. It's just like Monk in that way. Monk's wife died at the first, in the first episode. That's what he always tried to do. So at least can give them credit for having something that might last the arc, at least of the season, if not the whole show.
He's hunting. Yeah, I guess says he's wanting to solve the crime of his wife being murdered. But whereas Monk was playful and clever and they wrote ever interesting dialogue and it was funny and he was idiosyncratic.
Yes.
They have 2 They have one image that keeps appearing. This damn poker chip. I swear to God, if he brings up the poker chip again, I am done. He brings up the poker chip to the chief. They show the poker chip. He brings it up at the bar.
You got to know it's his MacGuffin.
That's exactly what it is. He talks. He's drunk. He's like, well, why were her eyes closed? And then what did that do with the poker chip? And then like later they open a box and there's poker chips in there. And then later he talks about the poker chip to like a partner of his. You're like, shut up about the fucking poker chip. If that's the only thing your investigation is going on, is that there was a poker chip near your dead wife, shut up. Go to Twin Peaks.
A little flimsy.
That was a much better use of a single poker chip. I could not care about this stupid poker chip. But because his wife dies and there was a poker chip within like a 6-mile vicinity, he decides to abandon his daughter for 11 months and go undercover, instead of helping her cope with the loss of her mother.
Did you make it to the title sequence before you said, ugh?
No, I did not. So. I couldn't. I did not. I mean, the third thing I wrote was slow, boring dialogue. I couldn't, by the time even the theme song kicked in, I was like, I don't know if I want Chuck Norris back. Yes. All right. I'm going to keep going now and tell me another one. Okay. So, abandons his daughter instead of taking care of her. Wife is played by the real life, Genevieve Padalecki. Okay. Day drinking, at the bar, drama about the dead wife. Well, no, I was drinking. You know what I was, because I would normally drink and I did not get to drink during this. And I had to watch this sober. Ugh. And it was very tough, very tough.
Why?
So day drinking at bar, drama about dead wife, over the top music and acting. It was like a Lifetime drama. Ooh. The music kicks in, the dialogue, and then he looks like he's about to cry and he's all tearing up. I'm like, oh, okay, guys. I mean,
if people don't know
the Harlan Sanders story that just got released.
If people don't know this about me already, then they're about to learn. I am a sucker for sappy pop songs in TV and movies.
You are.
We can go back to The Bodyguard to know when that actually started for me.
That is your favorite moment and movie of all time. I know that.
I will cry over that. Yeah. Not once did I even get emotional. So either I'm too old or they don't know how to use sappy pop music in the show, which is probably the case.
Well, and we talked about, there was a word I had to look up later, and I'll go ahead and throw one word out there now, kitsch. But the problem is kitsch, some people assume it's a pejorative, that it's always negative, and it doesn't have to be. Sometimes it can be deconstructive, or it can be toying with the ideas of what good art is. Sure, yeah, exactly. So I was like, I know there was another word I learned in high school, and it took me about 10 minutes of research before I found it. When I found it, I was like, that's the word, and we're going to talk about it at the end.
Cannot wait.
Yeah, so hold on, everybody. We're getting there. There's your ticking clock. There's your candy bar at the end of the episode. So no martial arts, first of all, which was, I thought the whole reason that Walker Takes Ranger existed was martial arts.
Yeah.
There was no martial arts. The most martial arts there was when he pulled the bush back and there was a horse 18 inches from him that he couldn't see.
Yeah.
I thought that was kind of, I was like, he's like looking for this horse later in the show. And he's like, I'll go get the horse. And he like pulls his, now I'll get to that in a minute. Okay. So let's see. It does look better. They obviously shot it with much better quality. They had a director of photography. The lighting is done appropriately.
Sure.
They have good audio. It definitely looks and sounds and feels better than the original Walker, Texas Ranger. However, the scenes feel mashed together, not written as a single story. There are times where like it feels like they almost broke it off and different people write things, and it's not cohesive. It just seems like scenes are being slammed up against one another. Like when the daughters are, all of a sudden on the soccer field, and then it jumps back to him at the office, and then it jumps like there's nothing that carries you from scene to scene fluidly. And that drove me nuts.
I think that's a CW thing.
That may be. And I have another thing about CW later too. I wanted to call this a Texas telenovela, because
yes, definitely,
that is exactly what it felt like. I was watching a cheap Lifetime movie soap opera from the middle of the day, but starring a hunky young man, a person of color as the as attractive young partner, her attractive
feisty
young
young partner.
Yeah, feisty. And she just says, I'm the first person of color on the, the Rangers. So they're like, let's make sure everyone knows that. Let's write that into the first scene that she's in. And then let's have him take off his shirt. Not Walker, her boyfriend. But they like really made sure that was in there so that they knew, hey, everybody, look at us, person of color in the show.
Yeah.
So that was a little obnoxious. Feelings, so many feelings. Everybody's talking about their feelings all the time. And the problem is they don't show people upset.
Nope.
They have the people constantly giving exposition about how they're upset.
I think they're afraid to let these actors act.
It's nobody can just look at a picture of the wife and be like, and a little tear. I am upset about my wife. Did I tell you she died and there was a poker chip and I'm still upset about that. And I don't know why my daughter's acting out, but I'm upset about my wife. Let's see. Okay.
I am sad. I shall drink in the park.
Yeah. Then we get to the trope line that I love. We were literally halfway through because I hit pause and I stretched and I was like, I have to get up and take a bathroom break for a second. I came back and the moment I hit play again, the line was, "You're not on this case." And I was like, man, they wrote that line. That's like in every cop they ever like, "You're off the case, Murtaugh. You're not on their rigs. You're not working there. Why are you working this case? I took you off there." Like, really? It's his dead wife. You can't cut him a little slack. It's been less than a year. You got
the fact that he even gets to come back after 11 months and just right on back in the job like nothing happened.
Yeah, well, first of all, you go through so much psych evaluation after coming back undercover. You don't just go right back into your job. Yeah, so that I was like, I can't believe they wrote that line in there. The other line, this would be my favorite line of the whole thing. Apropos of nothing, like he's just sitting there and he's really sad. And then his partner like comes up to him and he goes, "You know how you can see a horse's soul in its eyes?" And I was just like, what the fuck does that line mean? Like, look, I had horses when I was a kid. I grew up on a ranch. And for people that don't know, Matt and I grew up in a little town. Matt lived actually in the town. I lived 20 miles outside. We had a ranch. My mother still owns the ranch. We have horses and goats and longhorn cattle. I rode horses as kids and can still ride now. So sometimes when I watch shows like this that depict cowboys, like this fetishization of cowboys, I was like, man, I dug post holes. And you don't wear a cowboy hat. You don't wear that type of outfit. You wear blue jeans and a backwards baseball cap and maybe a bandana tied around you to keep sweat out of your eyes. And you wear like normal work boots. I dug post holes. I ran electrified fencing. I ran barbed wire fencing when I was a kid. I stacked hay. And when I see shows like this where they're like city slicker cowboys, I just want to roll my eyes because it's just, I wrote it a little later, but it's cowboy porn for city folk. I mean, that's essentially like what slickers. It is. City slickers. It's exactly, it drives me nuts.
Here's what I need, though. You just said something that I need to make sure that we go back. I don't want to lose this.
Yes.
Me and the people demand video footage of you riding a horse right now.
I will see what my mom can do. I'm sure. I mean, this was before, cell phones were prevalent, but I'm sure we've got some video somewhere on a VHS tape of me.
No. I want you
right now,
40-year-old Dell, to go out and to ride a horse.
Well, here's what's funny is this my birthday just passed recently, and being an old man, I had foot issues. And what we were going to go do that day, Kat was supposed to surprise me with horseback riding.
Aww.
And we had to cancel because my foot was hurting, so I couldn't put any pressure on it in the stirrup. So we ended up doing something else. It was very lazy, which was nice too. I don't mind that at all at my age now. But I tell you what, in the next couple of weeks, I'm going to get me some footage of me riding a horse. I used to do quarter horse racing and a few other things too. So, and there's pictures of me as a little kid and go to rodeos, and I even have my own pony back in the day. And then I had my own horse, Cleo. That was my first ever horse was my own. Then we had Mariah. They were great horses, and I loved Cleo. I'm gonna see if I can find a picture of her. But when he said you look a horse and it's you can see a horse's soul in its eyes, I was like, first of all, you're assuming horses go to heaven, which I don't know. I know all dogs go to heaven, but I'm sure horses go to purgatory or hell.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know how the Catholic Church for horses works, but I've never looked in any of my horse's eyes and thought, I can see it. There is a connection here. that is a bonding soul between the two of us. It was more like, yeah, you're an animal I ride, and you're my pet, and I love you, and I'm the guy that climbs on top of you and then gives you food afterwards, and we're both okay with that. We've made that deal together. So that line, just I guffawed at that line, and he says it so seriously. But then the weird thing is like, I don't think he has a horse in the show. He comes across one, but it's not like he's had one that he's had his whole life, or it's not like he has like Widowmaker, with like Pegasus Bill. He doesn't have like this bonding with any particular horse, but yet he can look into their eyes and see their souls. That just got me. He says so matter of factly too, as if souls aren't debatable and souls of horses aren't debatable. He just says it to her, how you can look into a horse's eyes and see its soul. And
Horse
she's
facts.
like, yeah, scientifically. Yeah, of course you get that. So, this was about, I was so halfway through, I was done. I wanted to be out of this so bad. Nothing screams like, it's cowboy light. There's just like, this is just not what any kind of actual cowboy would have ever been like. It's completely clean, and nothing to me screams real cowboy life. Like when he goes, at one point they're like, I'll go get the horse, you go get the cartel gang or whatever. As if that's an equal split between him and his partner. And he pulls up in a truck, clear like outside of a skyscraper in Austin, as if like I'm in the rugged outback,
right?
Because he's slightly in a park nearby where they could probably park into like the gravel parking lot, but make it look like it was near the grass. But clearly there's like skyscrapers there. And then he pulls down his tailgate and there's his saddle. And to me, nothing screams not a cowboy like a completely clean pickup truck with no dirt or dust anywhere on it, even in the bed of the truck. This thing is like brand new off the lot. And he's like, I'm a real cowboy. And he gets his saddle out, and then he goes looking for this horse that again he stumbles upon. Then they cut to like he's in a creek, and he can hear the horse. He's in a creek, and he can hear this horse. So he walks up to the horse, and he's like, "Where are you, horse? Horse, where are you? I'm trying to look into your eyes for your soul." And he literally reaches forward and moves like one branch, and the horse is right there. It's like 90 degrees. It's like coming around a corner. And almost bumping into somebody. And the horse just stands there. Like the horse wouldn't run off after a traumatic event of fleeing a fire or, just whatever. So and then immediately he looks at the horse. He goes, come on, little guy, come on. Something like that. Like he's got a bridle in his hands, but like, what are you going to do? Just throw a bridle on that horse? And you got to get it all cinched up. I mean, you would take a lasso, you would get it around there before you put the bridle on or something like that. So terrible cowboy. Then immediately the next shot as it cuts to cartels driving in a Jeep, and there's a shootout going on some kind of tarmac. And out of nowhere, he rides in on the horse while his partner is shooting guns back and forth with criminals. And I'm just like, what a cut. He's in the middle of this creek, comes across a horse, cuts to a gunfight going on somewhere else in Austin, and then he just happens to show up there within seconds. It's just, the writing is terrible in this show.
And how did I'm going to say it all cowboy up? They come to the end and you think that there's going to be a big reveal, or we're going to talk about the wife or anything. No, the crappy father that hasn't been around for 9 months brings the kids together and goes, I love you all, you should love me. Basically, that's what it is. We're all a happy family now because I decided to come back.
Well, let's say his daughter apparently did something with another girl of color, and they got in trouble. I can't really remember what it is. Maybe they don't even explain in the show. But because of that, they're benched for a while on the soccer team. But then there's a big game coming up. So the soccer puts his daughter back on the team, because she's a white girl and she's good. And she's like, but wait, the other girl, why aren't you putting her on the team? She's just as good as me, and we're both your forwards or goalie or whatever. And he's like, this is an important game. She's like, no, if you can relax the rules for me, you can relax them for her too. And if she's not playing, I'm not playing. Storms off. So you're supposed to have this like, okay, she's a very righteous character and she cares about fairness, and that it's not right for her to play just because she's white. The rules should apply to everyone. Okay, let's see what they do with this. Then later, they're at a bar drinking. Oh my God, he is such a terrible dad. So he's at a bar drinking later after this cartel shootout, riding a horse thing. Luckily, the horse doesn't get shot, because the first thing you would do if somebody's riding a horse is just shoot the horse.
Bulletproof horse.
So he's out day drinking again after taking on this cartel. And like the uncle or somebody walks in from the family and goes, "Hey, I just wanted you to know your daughter's not at the soccer game." And I'm thinking, well, he's not at the soccer game. Like, wait, why are you ratting out the daughter? You know, like the daughter even said, "I'm not going to do the soccer game because that's the right thing to do." Now the uncle's ratting her out because she's not at the soccer game and said she's at with a party with her friend, you know, at their house having a party at the old mom's house. And he's like, "I know where she is." And it's like, dude, you should be at the soccer game supporting your daughter, not drinking after a shootout. Like, why aren't you are nowhere, you don't love your daughter at all. You leave her for a year.
Yep.
And then when you come back, you avoid her. She clearly has a soccer game that's very important to her. She doesn't show up for it, but you don't even know that either one, there's a soccer game, or two, if there is, you're drinking with your cop buddies.
Yeah.
You know, you're terrible. Go away. So then he goes to the house and gets in a fight with her. Then he goes and gets into a fight with the uncle for trying to take his kids, because she's like, "I wish, you know, Uncle so-and-so had adopted us when you disappeared," which they should have.
Yep.
Because otherwise she's a kid without any kids and would have gone into foster care. So yeah, the uncle should have adopted them to keep them in the family, but he gets pissy about that. And so Walker goes and starts a physical fight with the dude, knocks him on the ground. And it's ridiculous. He's not relatable at all. The daughter's the most relatable character. He's just an asshole. And maybe he's supposed to be an anti-hero, but he doesn't come across like it. He has no redeemable qualities at all. He's fixated on his wife's death. He's a terrible detective. He can only focus on one clue. He doesn't care about his family at all. He's not seeking therapy. He's not martial artsing people to death. What is this guy doing other than being a giant crybaby through the entire show and then getting mad at other people for calling him out for being not a good parent?
Were there any tropes that they didn't use?
I don't know, man. I will say the word schlock. And here, I read it right here. CW equals schlock. And to cleanse my palate, I thought, you know what? I'll watch a little of this Nancy Drew show that's on CW afterwards, just to kind of cleanse the palate a little bit before I had to run out the Home Depot. Nope. 2 minutes into that, I was like, oh my God, this sucks too. And I used to read Nancy Drew mysteries after I finished all the Hardy Boys books. So it's like, man, do they do any shows? Well,
this season, we're only doing WB shows.
Oh, CW shows.
CW.
Or do you want to do, yeah. What was the other show? The USB show, UPS show?
UPN is where Moesha
UPN.
is.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that was
just UPN and CW. That's all we're going to do.
Oh my God. And again, I wrote just, yeah, I think he was supposed to be some kind of anti-hero who's trying to learn a lesson, and you're supposed to bond with him and see his troubles as he works with his daughter. And just like, no, dude, you're terrible. You're just a terrible person, a terrible partner, a terrible detective, a terrible cop, a terrible ranger, and a terrible father. Just, I don't want to watch any more about your stupid story, about your stupid life. And then I looked down and I said, I had 10 minutes to go in this show. And I was so angry that I had 10 minutes to go. I don't care about Walker, his family, or his repairing of the family. I don't care about Ranger Ramirez or her stupid relationship. It's more lazy, terrible dialogue. It's all dialogue, no visual. Everybody, It's just exposition, non-stop. They over-explain everything emotional and they under-explain the plot. Like I'm so lost as to what exactly is going on. Storyline, it's so vague, but then they over-explain how everyone's feeling in every single moment. It's obnoxious. Then a plumber showed up to our house to work on one of our toilets. And I got so excited, I wrote in all caps, "Plumber is here, a break." And I really did take a 30-minute break and watch the plumber work, and had, I'll be honest, way more of an interesting time and learned more, and was, you know what, thoroughly involved in the narrative of cleansing a toilet than I was in this show. And I am not joking about that. Juan, you're out there. Hopefully you listen to the show. Thank you very much. He helps us a lot around the house. Great guy. I sat with him and watched him do this work rather than watch the show because it was better. Then they have the imagery of he gets a new saddle or they clean up his saddle. And he's supposed, it's like, well, I guess it's a new life. It's like, oh, wonderful metaphor. New saddle, new life. Oh my God, it's old saddle. Like, that's not like the most beat you over the head with metaphor I've ever seen in my life. I mean, they really did treat it like you were it's like the critic said, like Queen said, it's just like, you're an idiot. Average Joe Queen was right. They just treated people like they're absolute stupid. I couldn't deal with it. Then the show ends, like you said, with a video of the kids put together a video of when the wife was still alive, and you just see him, and they're all standing there watching the video, reminiscing about mom. And I'm like, you couldn't have done this 11 months ago? Like, you had the footage. Why is this taking a year to put together? Are you that bad at, Adobe?
It was an uncompressed file. It was really big.
Yeah, so when you unzipping that long. And the thing is, the last 5 minutes, my stream kept stopping and stopping, like every 30 seconds, even as if
it didn't finish.
It needed a break. Like, if we get through 30 seconds and be like, I need a break. Okay, here's a little bit more of this show. I think the last two things I wrote is CW is what you get when you can't get quality. That should be their motto for their network. And then the word that I finally was able to look up and to remember was called prolifeed. And this is from 1984, when, to keep the proletariat masses in check, the authorities from the Ministry of Truth would create boring, long shows with no rebellion, no storyline, nothing interesting to encourage people to rebel, just so that something would play on the television so that they would tune out and not think about rebellion or their own personal private thoughts. And it was kitsch, it was schlock, but it was mainly there to be a filler. And that is prolifeed. And that is exactly what this show is. It just speaks to the lowest common denominator of somebody that wants to shut their brain off, put a good flashy thing on TV. At least put on a YouTube channel and learn something if you're going to fold laundry. Put on an interesting show and put that on the background as you clean or do laundry or something. To sit and watch this as a focal point, as if this were the thing your attention should be focused on, is absurd. It's just, that's utterly absurd.
I've never been more excited to ask you this question. Del, would you recommend the pilot episode of Walker to people?
Yes. To so many people who I don't respect and who I don't think have good taste and who I think deserve to be punished, right? Yes, I think a lot of people will kind of like this young, brash retelling of a show that, when you look at it, it's empty. It is just prolifeed. It is nothingness. It is void of it is devoid of anything authentic at all whatsoever. And so, to people who like critiquing films or maybe have a degree, I would also say yes to learn what not to do when making a television show. And I gotta say, I like the original show better for two reasons. One, the famous Haley Joel Osment line of, this is Mr. Walker. He's a Texas Ranger. Hi, I've got AIDS. Great delivery. Everyone should look that up on YouTube. It's one of the best things ever put to
celluloid
videotape, I guess. And then the other is that when the Conan O'Brien show's parent company bought the rights to Walker Texas Rangers, they had the Walker Texas Ranger handle. Then whenever the show would slow down, they would just grab it and pull the handle, and it would just play out of context some clip from Walker Texas Ranger that was so beyond the absurd that it was that is art. That is how you put something together that has value, even in its absurdity. And this show just, I mean, and there wasn't any even ass whoopings. It was just empty. I can't say any. The best thing I can say about it is it wasn't evil.
That's true. It wasn't evil. The answer is no. Don't recommend this to anybody. Del, how can the people find us online if they want to find us?
Well, very shortly, we're going to have passpod.com. That's going to be directing you to all the social medias, as well as some of the blog sites. The pages I held up here For the people at home, you're going to be able to see these scanned. Oh, look. And if you also on the video channel, you're going to be able to see that's my cat in the background. That's Princess Zelda, who we're going to be posting
Staring
a picture
at us
of.
over your shoulder.
She is so beautiful. She was recently turned into an actual painting with her as a princess that I got for Christmas, which is very cool. We're going to be posting all sorts of pictures and stuff on our blogs. We're going to be doing some extra critiques, recommending some other shows that we can't quite get to, maybe doing some, some postscripts that we think we can add on to the shows about. But if you're wanting to go directly to us right now on Facebook and Instagram, it is just type in Pilot Pass. On Twitter, it's Pilot Pass Pod. On the YouTube, you'll have type Pilot Pass, Pullen, and Pizana. We need 100 people to subscribe, so please subscribe. Once you subscribe, once we get 100 people, we can get the URL that just says Pilot Pass. That'll make it much easier for everybody to find, and it really helps us out a lot. Of course, we have our Patreon page. We're really, even $1 a month goes a long way because we are looking this year to do mugs, T-shirts. Like I said, we're doing an actual private jet for $73 million with Matt's and ours faces, one on each side, that says the Pilot Pass plane.
And if you speak nice to us, we might get Chuck Norris to come on the plane with us.
That's right. That's right.
He's still alive, right?
He'll do the Waze voice navigation for the air.
There you go.
You know, go up here, go down here.
Nice.
Avoid bridge. So, yeah, that's just really anything, even $1 really helps out on Patreon. But of course, if you can kick in 3 or 5 or 10 or even a one-time, $1,000, hey, great. Because we're going to use it to get you guys ways to continue to help support us. But really keep an eye out for the pilotpasspod.com, where we really hope to kind of compile everything together and let you see what we do behind the scenes, and let us know about Discord. We're considering creating a Discord channel. So we've kind of got that rolling around a little bit.
Yes, excellent. That all sounds good. I agree with everything that you just said. That was accurate. Del, is there anything that you want to leave the people with before we go?
Don't watch this show unless you can do it without supporting the network. Like if you can pirate this show so that it doesn't show up in any kind of ratings, or if the Nielsen's report, like I did, they'll send you something in the mail sometimes where you fill it out. Just lie and put like PBS or something else, so that shows like this don't continue to be made, and we can devote that money to things like COVID vaccines and hospitals and
bringing the good guys back.
Bringing the good guys back in season 2 of the Muppets when they, it was like The Office, shows that we need in this day and age.
This show's going to go for 5 years, don't you? 5 seasons right there. I'm calling it.
I'm so upset, but yes, it probably will. I mean, it's just, and remember, people just Prolifeed. There you go. Take that home with you. You ever want to know what that is? Recommend this.